My experiences of the Holocaust are only a child's experiences. So what I saw was never frightening to me because I was used to this sort of life around me, to dead people laying on the road. I remember we used to play hopscotch across the bodies of dead people because we didn't know they were dead. We didn't know any difference. It's really sad. My name is Alexandra Rubenstein, and I was born in 1942 in the Białystok ghetto in Poland, and I'm a Holocaust survivor. My mother and I left Białystok on Aryan papers when I was 2 years old, and we went to Vienna. My mother was a Catholic girl with child. So then I was brought up Catholic. My father couldn't come with us because my father looked Jewish, and not only did you have to look Jewish, but if they pulled your pants down, they knew you were Jewish. So he had to hide, and he hid in the sewers in Warsaw. There has been a book written about him, 6 in a Bunker, and they were there for nearly a year in this underground sewers. So after the war, we found each other and we came to Australia. We were very lucky, very lucky.
My name's Vivian Perch. I'm 58 years old, a kindergarten teacher and child of a Holocaust survivor.
My name's Melanie Perch. I'm 26 years old and I'm the granddaughter of a Holocaust survivor.
So first, what is intergenerational trauma? As the word sounds, it's when the experience of trauma crosses from that historical event onto the next generation. This first came to the attention of psychologists when they were looking at the children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors. And they found in their research that Holocaust survivors' children and grandchildren were 300% more likely to develop a mental illness than the broader population. That led to some further investigation as to what the source of this change was, and they found both biological and psychological impacts of trauma on an individual. If a woman is in a concentration camp and the only way that that person can survive is to cut herself off emotionally, and that's how she survives that traumatic experience, then once the trauma is over, once that event has passed, that doesn't change necessarily the way that person can respond to other humans. So if you've been emotionally shut off to survive, that stays with you, and it might even impact on the way you relate to your children and therefore how they relate to their children. So now we've got a history of shut off emotions, of the inability to express emotions, and that plays out from one generation to the next from a learning perspective.
Today I feel I'm impacted by the Holocaust, as my mother, as I said before, was a Holocaust survivor. So she was brought up very overprotective by my grandmother, which then I think when she brought me up, she was very overprotective of me.
Worried always about my family. If I don't hear from them, I think something's wrong, and I was very hard on my children. I always was worried if they were 5 minutes late.
So for instance, I wasn't allowed to go to camps. When I wanted to go to the city, there was no mobile phones then, so she had to drive me to the bus stop, and lucky for phone boxes, because when I got to the city I had to ring her. When I wanted to come home I had to ring her again. She was waiting at the bus stop. She was very cautious of letting us go anywhere. And then when I had my children, surprise, surprise, I then brought up them the same way, even though I didn't like the way I was brought up.
We always had to be available when she called us, and we had to always text her and let her know where we were if it was like late at night. And I actually feel like I'm the same now, living out of home, with my housemates. Like if they're out and like it gets to like 12:30 at night and they're not home, I'll like message and I'm like, are you okay? Like, do you need me to come get you? So yeah, I do think that's been brought down. And also I think there's always this constant sense of worry that my grandmother took with her from the Holocaust.
And I think that comes from losing people. You're worried you'll lose the people you love, and I just can't get over that.
How did the Holocaust bring my family together? So I used to bring my daughters to visit my grandmother once a week, and my youngest daughter was very interested in the Holocaust, and they would sit and every week, which was beautiful, and talk about my grandmother's experience, which was nice because one generation of my grandmother and the youngest of the generations, my daughter, and then it was continuing my family's story, and my daughter can like pass it on to the next generation because she's got the knowledge.
And my parents kept us very close together, and I've done the same with my family. I never had grandparents, never knew my grandparents, my aunties, my cousins.
Growing up, my grandmother made a really big effort to be the best grandmother that she possibly could be, because she didn't have grandparents growing up. She didn't have an extended family. And through that, she also made Shabbat dinners and Friday night dinners a really big priority. And you couldn't have an excuse when it came to Friday night dinner. You had to be there. We all had to be there, all the grandchildren, everyone. And yeah, I just think for her, and once she had kids and then grandkids, her priority was just trying to be an active grandmother and be there for us when we needed, buy us presents whenever we wanted to, come to our sporting games, do all the things that she never had when she was growing up.
When we were young and we came to Australia, we called all our parents' friends auntie and uncle because we never had any.
What are your hopes for your family in the future?
Oh dear, my hopes for the family are that something terrible like this will never ever happen again, and I don't want them to ever forget it, and be proud of being Jewish and stick up for anything you see that is wrong.
Okay, amazing. Thanks, Scopus.
Okay, was that all right?
Yeah, that was great. That was really good.